Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Adrienne Ewing, and I am the Director of ADA Compliance. We are excited today to share with you the accomplishments that we have made with our ADA unit. As many of you may be aware, in December of 2020, we published our first ADA transition plan for the City of Philadelphia, which included an evaluation and review of more than 537 buildings and facilities in the city buildings. We are here today because we looked at some of the corrective actions which were low cost or had no cost at all, and we wanted to prioritize those corrective actions which may have been forgotten. We were able to secure funding through the Operation Transformation Fund, which is an innovative fund through the city, and we did receive $300,000, which allowed us to make many accessible changes, including within City Hall, where we are today, some of the Parks and Recs facilities, as well as several libraries, which you will learn about more in our presentation shortly. It is my pleasure to be with you today and an honor to introduce our Executive Director, Amy Nieves, who is an advocate for disability rights. She is a constant and thorough leader, and without her leadership, we would not be here today. She and I are currently making up the Office of ADA Compliance, and so with great pleasure, I introduce Amy Nieves.
Good morning. Thank you, Adrienne. And truly, this work would not be possible without her work and leadership as well. Again, my name is Amy Nieves. A visual description of myself is I'm a fair-skinned female with blonde hair, pink glasses, and a black and floral dress. I am the Executive Director for the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, but I am also a proud disabled neurodivergent with deafness and the primary caregiver to 3 children with disabilities. I want to thank you all for joining us today because, like every day, today is a good day for accessibility. For nearly 1 in 5 Philadelphians are a person with disabilities. Philadelphia has the highest rate of disability of all of our large U.S. cities at nearly 17%, and they face barriers every day. Our office aims to reduce and eliminate those barriers while strengthening our equitable engagements and partnerships. There is still much work to do. But we are excited today to take a moment to celebrate the progress and that from this day forward, all people will have equitable access to the signage of our City Hall for our offices and restrooms. And when I was appointed to this role 2 years ago, I had 2 goals: to shift the conversation around disability representation and to improve accessibility for our residents. Currently, we do this through a variety of projects and programs, policy writing, supporting the Mayor's Commission on People with Disabilities, and we've accomplished a lot, including launching the first ever GIS, Geographic Information Systems map, that includes disability data along with race, age, and ethnicity of a U.S. city. And this is being transformative for our city and our nation, and we will showcase it internationally in July. And while we're here to celebrate the work that's been done by our office, our partners at Alexander Perry, and through funding made possible again by the Operations Transformation Fund, I just want to take a moment to thank Mayor Kenny, for he was the first mayor to actually prioritize accessibility, even though the ADA was passed nearly 33 years ago next month. The first to support a self-evaluation of ADA compliance of our buildings and city departments, and implement our current 5-year ADA transition plan that Adrienne and I are charged with. And he brought forward our office, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, into the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with an Executive Order 120. It's been my honor to serve as his appointment in this role for the last 2 years, and I look forward to welcoming our new administration. For you, Mayor Kenny, truly have laid the groundwork needed for us to make this city fully accessible and equitable for all going forward. This work will not be done until we achieve that. Thank you, Mayor, for your commitment for the work that we have done together, particularly ensuring that ADA compliance and accessibility is prioritized in our budgetary work. And so I'll close before I introduce the mayor with a sentiment that's driven our office, my career, and our collective advocacy of this group, captured by one of my favorite activists, Elsa S. Henry. Representation matters because there's a richness to disability you're probably not aware with. And it's now my pleasure and honor to introduce our 99th mayor, Mayor James Kenney. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for all being here today. I'm really thrilled to be here in celebration of Disability Pride Week 2023 as we unveil our newly accessible City Hall. These upgrades include more than 600 high-contrast Braille signage, 600 high-contrast Braille signage throughout the building and other corrective actions to make City Hall a safer, more accessible place for Philadelphia residents. Everyone should have the opportunity to access our city's buildings and programs. We have a better government, a better city, and when we are all inclusive as possible. Philadelphia has one of the highest rates of residents with disabilities of any large city in America. That's why in 2017 I signed Executive Order 7-17, which formally established the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities to advance strategic policies and programs to make our city more accessible. As part of their work to advocate for those with disabilities, this office has worked tirelessly to support the city's compliance with the ADA. What you see today is a result of MOPD's work to implement Philadelphia's ADA transition plan and to make as many ADA modifications and corrective actions as possible. So focusing on services for people with disabilities has been a high priority throughout our administration, and we will continue to fight for equal access and opportunity for everyone. I want to thank all the advocates who pushed us in the right direction, and I want to thank our staff for moving forward as quickly as possible to help meet those goals, and I want to thank everyone for being here. The City Hall is a better place now because of the work that we've been doing, so thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kenney. We have with us today Vicki Landers, the founder and executive director of Disability Pride, and we are so honored to have Vicki with us for Disability Pride Week. She is an advocate for the disability community and promotes more visibility and pride within the community. So please join me with a round of applause and help me welcome Vicki Landers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Adrian, Amy, Mayor Kenney. My name is Vicki Landers, and I'm the Executive Director for Disability Pride PA. I am a white woman with grayish hair with a purple streak. I'm wearing a dark brown shirt, and I have my favorite little ASL pen on me today. I really am appreciative of all of the work that's been happening in the city due to Mayor Kenney's initiative and the work that Adrian and Amy have been doing. You can see the difference. We are stepping into the right direction to make this city more inclusive. I'm super excited that this is happening this week during Disability Pride Week here in Philadelphia. We're super excited about all of the work that's going to continue to happen because of these initiatives. And I'm just excited about how accessible our city is getting. You know, I run events, and the best thing that can happen is the city to be inclusive so that all of us can attend all events. So I just wanted to say thank you again. I hope everybody comes out on Saturday to Disability Pride Philadelphia on the Parkway, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Next, we have Shane Janik, the Executive Director of the ARC Philadelphia. Shane is an advocate for the disability community and has been the Executive Director of the ARC Philadelphia since 2020. The ARC's mission is to advocate with and for all children, and adults living with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families, as well as to promote active citizenship, self-determination, and full inclusion. It is an honor and great pleasure to welcome Shane Janik. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I actually wanted to bring my colleague Michael Anderson up here as well. A visual description, I'm a white guy with short brown hair. I have a scruffy beard right now, and I have a gray button-up shirt on. And I just want to give a thank you to Adrian and Amy today in the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities for having us come out and give this comment. So as Adrian just mentioned, I'm the executive director at the ARC of Philadelphia. We're an advocacy organization for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, people with IDD. And I found this field because my older brother, has significant intellectual disability. He has medical complexities and a variety of healthcare diagnoses as well. And he's nonverbal. And I say that just because the experience that our family has had growing up with accessibility, and even in the 32 years that my brother and I have been here, I've seen that change and I've seen that shift since I've entered the field with the ARC of Philadelphia. And it really is because of the work that Amy and Adrian are doing. And it starts with our leadership, and they exemplify that every single day in the projects that they take on out of their offices. I really want to also thank the inclusion of not just the community with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but the communities who are deaf and hard of hearing, the communities who may be blind or have low vision, people with physical disabilities, and people that may not identify as having a disability, but maybe have a disability related to aging. And that work that has shown in all of the work that Amy and Adrian have put together, and really bringing together the diversity that really makes up the entire disability community. So I just want to give a thank you to that, and again, the consideration for all of the communities that make up the disability community, and want to pass it off to Michael Anderson, our colleague also from the ARC.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to thank the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities for including the ARC of Philadelphia on wonderful projects. My favorite project for the Mayor's Office of Disabilities is working on the map, because I didn't realize before I worked on the map how many people with disabilities live in Philadelphia. So thank you, and I hope to make Mayor's Office permanent office within the next mayoral administration.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Shane, and thank you, Michael. We appreciate you. We have with us as well today Lauren DeBrooker. She is a commission member. That's the Mayor's Commission on People with Disabilities. She was appointed to the commission in 2016 by Mayor Kenny and has continued to be a committed advocate for people with disabilities. She is also Assistant U.S. Attorney with the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. It is an honor to welcome Lauren DeBrooker.
Great. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mayor Kenny. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. Again, my name is Lauren DeBrooker. I am a middle-aged, fair-skinned white woman with shoulder-length blonde hair. I'm wearing a black top with pink dots on it and black pants, and I am seated in my manual wheelchair. I have been a member of the Philadelphia legal community for more than 25 years and a disabled Philadelphian for a lot longer than that, so I'm privileged to be here. I had the privilege of being appointed to the commission by Mayor Kenny in 2016. Since then, the commission has worked very hard to make sure that the commission itself is broadly representative of the incredibly diverse disabled community here in Philadelphia, whether it's people with mobility disabilities, intellectual disabilities, communication-related disabilities. It is a broad community with many interests, but we work to serve the interests that we have in common. The Commission is proud to have partnered with many local organizations that share same interests around the issues of accessible housing, financial independence for people with disabilities, elevating the work that's being done around the city, and making sure that both the Commission and the office that guides us is accessible to all and available as a resource. I would like to take a moment to thank Amy Nieves and Adrienne Ewing, and until very recently, Claudia Tasco, who run the office, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, on a shoestring, on a very small staff, and they do amazing work. Cities of our size, cities smaller than our size, have staffs of 12 to 20 in their Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities. Philadelphia has a long way to go on that, but we are working on it. There is a legislation being heard tomorrow in City Council, a proposal to make the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities a permanent part of city government. In my personal capacity as an interested disabled Philadelphian, I encourage you to attend that. I encourage you to consider getting behind that. I would, again, like to Amy and her team work tirelessly. They have gotten the Philadelphia Transition Plan off the ground after more than 30 years. It is a heavy lift, and they are doing it exceptionally well. It is a long road to go, but they have been resourceful and been able to make incredible progress. I liken the Mayor's Office on People with Disabilities and the Commission as kind of a flywheel. If you've ever seen a flywheel or used one, they're very hard to move in the beginning. But with time and with effort, things start to move. And Philadelphia is moving in the right direction thanks to the work of these good people. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for being here today.
Okay, so now we're getting to the really, really exciting part of our presentation. We have with us Patricia Sanford, CEO of Alexander Perry Incorporated. She is also the founder, and she was the consultant that our office selected for this project. Pat has over 16 years in the design profession. She has received numerous awards, including the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Minority Business Development Agency Award for Outstanding Entrepreneurial Achievement. And please join me in welcoming Patricia Sanford of Alexander Perry Incorporated and her team. Thank you.
Before we get to Patricia's presentation, we have one more speaker. It's my pleasure. I'll introduce her, Suzanne Erb. She's a longtime Philadelphia resident. She's helped us with our ADA focus group for this project. And she'll also be helping us tomorrow. As many, I didn't get to mention, we go before City Council tomorrow with a resolution to move this office into the city charter to make sure that this work lives on beyond the Kenney administration. So it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Suzanne, and then we'll get to the presentation of more of the details from the project team. Okay, Suzanne, come straight forward.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to be using my Braille display because I think it's sort of important for everyone to see Braille in action. I would definitely like to, just before I go any further, to take the time to thank so many people, especially to Adrienne Ewing, Amy Nieves, and Claudia Tasco, who is no longer with the city, but just want to mention her anyway. And of course, thank you to Mayor Kenney. And I'd also like to thank everyone who served with me on the ADA Transition Plan Focus Group. I was really thrilled to be a part of this focus group, and to support the city's ADA unit as a blind resident and advocate. I have been a blind resident for too many years to count, and some people would say, gee, you know, Suzanne, you can retire now, but I don't feel ready yet. In terms of a description of myself, let's see, I'm a middle-aged white woman, and my hairdresser says that my hair is becoming grayer, but that it's still not totally gray. And I'm wearing a dress. So I hope that's a good verbal description. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I am so pleased to say how many improvements the city has made as a result of the work of the two A's, Adrian and Amy. And I appreciate all of their work as a citizen who is blind and who is also an advocate for people with all disabilities. And I think that universal design is so important, and that's where universal design comes in with these signs, because everybody can observe them in the way that makes sense to them. They're perceivable for people in terms of high contrast. They're perceivable for anybody. They're perceivable for people who use wheelchairs. They're perceivable for people who are blind but are not Braille readers, as long as they're able to read the print and they know the printed letters. And what's near and dear to my heart is they're accessible in Braille. And without Louis Braille, who developed Braille in the 19th century, somewhere around the 1830s, none of this would be possible. So I have to also thank Louis Braille. But there have been so many improvements, and that's not saying that there isn't work to be done, because there's lots of work that needs to be done. But I think that signage is one part of communication that is important to everyone, and it's no less important for people who have visual impairments. And I would just like to thank everyone again for making all of this possible. Projects like this benefit not only the blind and the disabled communities, but projects like this also benefit everyone when we make more things accessible and use the principles of universal design in our everyday lives. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I am Pat Sanford from Alexander Perry, Inc., consultant for the Mayor's Office of ADA. I am a black female. We won't say what age group, but we'll say that brown hair, brown eyes, and also I'm wearing white today. And I'm so pleased for this opportunity. I actually consider it an honor. It has made our organization much more sensitive to the needs of our broader community, and I will explain going through this process. So we're going to start today with going over a table of contents that will include an introduction and context, project overview, an ADA compliance journey. We're going to talk about City Hall signs, accessibility and inclusion, recreation centers, libraries, We're going to hear from our ADA installation company, Skanska, from Robert Miller, and then assessment overview from our supply chain manager, MC Wilder. As an introduction for the company, we have been in business for 31 years. We provide architecture and construction management services for a broad range of services in City of Philadelphia, which included Comcast Tower, School District of Philadelphia, and the Mayor's Office of ADA, to name a few. So we were hired to start this project with your transition plan. And the transition plan looked at all the deficiencies around the city that were not ADA accessible, including City Hall, libraries, public libraries, which you have 60 of them, and then also for the offices and recreation and playgrounds around the city. The area of our focus included, we had to write content, we had to understand your transition plan, and also do an assessment of what was a low cost and no cost. You heard Adrian mention that earlier. So we also had to look at ADA through a diversity lens. So we had to look at, we understand that high diversity, high ADA disability has high poverty. They're connected. So we looked at cities around areas in North Philadelphia, for example, Southwest Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia, and served that as a template for looking at corrective standards. Some neighborhoods have 42% poverty, which equals 246,000 residents. And to address these inequalities, we started with a high ADA deficient areas. So our team consisted of myself, MC Wilder, supply chain, Unveils, which is project management, Meshkath, who does architecture, and then, of course, Skanska through Robert Miller. This ADA unit was created to address this low-cost, no-cost corrective actions from the transition plan with funding. You heard that earlier. And then we had to prioritize because approximately 1/3 of the corrective actions will propel this transition team forward. We only had a limited budget and a small amount of time. City Hall, libraries, parks and recs, and locations were addressed through the project. And now I want to take you through an ADA compliance journey, but to do that, I really need you to see the visuals. So I don't know who's turning the, oh, you are there. Okay, thank you. So on the ADA compliance journey, again, we mentioned about the diversity in the city. So we started with City Hall. Next slide. City Hall signage, and we did a tour of the entire City Hall and noticed that there were 600 signs that were not compliant with our diverse community, those with accessibility issues in the city. For one, the restrooms were not inclusive of those that were handicapped, gender neutral, or blind, and so we addressed that by creating the standard sign, which you will see on the next slide. We also show that the new standard is the handicap showing forward motion because we want to show that all of us are inclusive and it's more about mobility and accessibility. And so libraries and recreation centers have been and continue to be champions for access. Within 20 years, free libraries developed clear standards for services for people with disabilities, including accessible building design and inclusive materials and services. This office, which we're so excited to work with, has mandated standards for ADA compliant signage, exit signs, and restroom accessibility, including door servicing features. And I do want to say to you that one of the things that we noticed, if someone is, let's say, blind or in a wheelchair, they may not see the exit signs. If there was an emergency, a fire, God forbid, they would not be able to know how to get out of the building. So we were addressed, that was part of what we addressed. So now we want to talk about some of the libraries that we saw, and the beautiful libraries, by the way, in the city. We started with Walnut Street West Library, and we noticed, there's other things we noticed, slow door closing speed, for example. So if you're in a wheelchair, you know, we barely can move the doors and get into the restroom. And so how difficult would that be for someone that's in a wheelchair? We were able to, through our consultant, Skanska, able to make those changes to the door speed so that they would be slow enough to be able to open them, and we provided the necessary hardware. And then there were carts in front of emergency exits, so if there was an emergency, you couldn't get out. And again, the restrooms had to be clearly marked that that was, in fact, a accessible restroom. The same with Lucian Blackwell Library. The other thing we noticed is in restrooms, you may not have adequate grab bars. So perhaps someone needed that kind of assistance. We were able to supply grab bars into the restrooms as well. We visited Haddington Library, Overbrook Park Library, Charles Durham Library, again, door swings, and then Haverford Library had a lot of, we needed exit signs. And then we fast forward to Central West Library. So Central West Library is a new renovation, so this particular library already addressed some of the handicap accessible signs. So if you look, you can see that, you clearly see that it's a men's, women's restroom, gender neutral. There's a baby, so there's a changing table, and then there's a handicap accessible sign and Braille. So that is now the standard going forward, and we wanted to highlight that for you. And here's another example. Next, we want to take you on some shining examples of accessibility. There are some libraries that were already addressing accessibility there. I think that Philadelphia has beautiful, amazing public libraries. We saw original samples of Jet magazines. We saw the Rat Pack in Fumo Library, for example. A lot of light and a lot of low areas for those with accessibility requirements were already met in some of these brand new libraries. Next, we're showing a restroom where you can see clearly there's a children's restroom here, and it has the actual grab bars that are necessary. But then you see a lot of art, a lot of light. So I think that Philadelphia is doing a marvelous job and is a leader in this industry. Now, when we look at our accomplishments, a breakdown of low cost and no cost charges and changes, we can see that City Hall, we installed 600 signs. Libraries, we visited 60 sites. There were 107, door adjustments, and we need 150 exit signs and 97 grab bars. Rec centers, we're starting to attend. So the other thing that happens is we actually had connected with Gwendolyn, who's head of the rec centers, and Tim, who's head of the libraries. And we went to each and every site. Again, with the rec centers, there's 150, including playgrounds, so we're still working on that. So then I want to go to Parks and Recs. Hank Gathers Recreation Center. Again, fabulous history of Hank Gathers is throughout. You should visit it if you can. Again, exit signs, hardware, the same issues there too. Samuel Recreation Center, you can see in the third diagram that there are grab bars, so they were effectively installed previously to us, and the signage is also appropriate. So here we were only changing exit signs. If you see that exit signs up there, if someone is in a wheelchair or blind, there would be no way for them to know that was an exit sign. sing with Eighth and Diamond. And then I will just overall tell you that it was an honor to do this work. I think we're excited that it's going to continue. We're just getting started, and we want to thank you for this opportunity. And I'm going to pass the mic over to our colleague, Robert Miller, who will talk about the actual installation of the signage. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. As Pat said, I'm Robert Miller from Skanska USA Building. We were brought on board with Pat to do the installations for the libraries with grab bars, hardware, and signage throughout the City Hall project. I am a white male, tall, wearing a blue suit. One of the things that we did, we looked at was, like Pat said, doing 60 libraries. We were able to go through, make the assessment. My colleague, Jim Burke, did all these tours, reported back to me all the findings and great libraries of Philadelphia. So after these assessments were done, he is now in the process of completing all new grab bars, signage installation, and then, as Pat said, when funds come available, we will be able to go back and take care of all the hardware and other upgrades that need to be done to make these more compliant. One of the greatest things here was City Hall doing 600 signage throughout the city. It was a great opportunity to see City Hall. As a resident, 53 years of City Hall, it was an opportunity to see the city, see the libraries, and see some of the rec centers that I've never visited before in my entire life here. With that, I want to thank Amy and Adrian for being part of this great project and being able to provide the ADA assistance that everybody needs in this city. Thank you.
All right. In closing remarks here associated with this project, as you know, this is a landmark building. City Hall is the largest municipal building in the United States with over 14.5 acres of floor space. Topped with an iconic statue of Philadelphia founder William Penn, the 540-foot tower is the tallest masonry structure in the world without a steel frame, and it's the tallest building. It was the tallest building in Philadelphia until 1987. Now, as an ex-engineer, I found that pretty phenomenal, so that's pretty great. So as you look around, you will notice during your tour that we've come a long way from the days in which several rooms didn't have numbers. Some of the signage was too high. I was speaking with our leader, Pat Sanford, and we were observing some of the changes and how significant that's going to impact the accessibility as it relates to ADA compliance and making sure that we are on the leading edge with one of the leading structures in this city and within this country. You will notice that this phenomenal layout, again, is ADA compliant. It's going to be a beacon as we move forward to continue to push for more support for this well-deserved community. None of this would be possible without the engagement and support from the community itself at large, as well as Mayor Kenny's organization, and a phenomenal leader in Adrienne Ewing. So let's give her a hand. So as Mayor Kenny and his administration comes to the end of their term, I'm sure that this is actually probably one of the most rewarding experiences as it relates to their going out and providing significant impact to the community, something, again, that is well-deserved and over past due. So we want to make sure that we leave a legacy here as it relates to pride, especially in the disability community, because it's such a deserving community, and we deserve to continue to promote and respect and uphold our responsibility to their citizenry as well as everyone else in the city. So we hope you enjoyed this presentation today. We appreciate your ongoing support. We at Alexander Perry, along with Skanska, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat, and thank you to your team. We have moved to the portion of our program where we have City Representative Sheila Hess joining us today. In 2016, Sheila was appointed by Mayor Kenny to the role of City Representative. Sheila is an effective leader and champion for our city. Sheila is driven by purpose and passion and has been a staunch steward of change, contributing her time and talents to the philanthropic missions of Variety, the children's charity, which provides assistance to children and youth with physical and developmental disabilities. Please join me with a warm round of applause in welcoming City Representative Sheila Hess.
Thank you so much, Amy. Hi, everybody. Hi, I am Sheila Hess. As Amy just said, I am proud and humbled to be able to serve as Philadelphia's city representative. I am a her female with crutches, with wearing leg braces. I was born with a disability myself called spina bifida. I have blonde hair. I have a turquoise dress on, and I have lipstick on. So, and blonde, yeah, I think I said blonde hair. So hopefully you have a visual. But I am so proud to be here. First, I want to thank Mayor Jim Kenny for appointing me as city representative 8 years ago with someone with a disability to have this role. This is extra special because this role is very outgoing, and that he believed in me and he trusted that I could do this position, and he was so right. So it is truly an honor to be here for Disability Pride Month and Pride Week with all these incredibly talented individuals that you just heard from. One more round of applause for each and every one of our speakers. Yes. So I want to make it official. I know you heard from Mayor Kenny earlier today. An incredible presentation, Pam. Thank you for sharing the amount of work and effort that each and every one of you went into to put this together. But it is all under the outstanding leadership of both Amy Nieves and Adrienne Ewan. So one more round of applause for the two leaders and champions for the city of Philadelphia leading our mayor's office of people with disabilities. And thank you to Josie Pickens, who oversees all of our diversity, equity, and inclusion office. Thank you so much, Josie. Just the other day, I had the honor of being part of the disability flag raising that was outside at City Hall with Vicki. So thank you so much, Vicki, and thank you to everyone. I think we were all there, right? Yeah, everyone that's here today was out there for the flag raising. And it is something that is truly special to me personally and professionally that the city of Philadelphia recognizes disability pride. And don't forget, hashtag disability pride to put out there on social. Yes. I just want to make today official. You heard from all the incredible work that has been done, and in my 8 years as city representative, I have seen the changes, but personally, I know what needs to be done to be changed because I struggle with some of these challenges myself, and I'm always like, oh, I wish we could do this, I wish we could do that. And you've done it. You are continuing to do it. And knowing that it is hopefully going to be a permanent office brings joy to me. And I know that our citizens of Philadelphia will make that happen because we are on that path to make Philadelphia that shining city for so many different reasons. And one of the reasons we want to attract even more people with disabilities to know that we are a welcoming city for all folks, and including our own individuals with disabilities, no matter what your disability is. So you have taken on so many tasks with just this past project, and this is what we are here for today. I'd like to call both Amy and Adrienne, if you could join me. I'm not going to read it all because you kind of have heard from each and every one of the speakers about the tremendous work that has been done. But to make it official for Mayor Kenny and the City of Philadelphia with this mayoral citation, I'm just going to read just an excerpt of it because of these incredible women behind us. In honor of Disability Pride Week, taking place this week, June 5th through the 10th, a celebratory presentation of the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities, the ADA Unit Project, and all of its incredible accomplishments is being held today right here at City Hall, and it's a free event for the community, and it's during which the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities is just unveiled over 600 fully accessible, tactile, high contrast signage with braille for all the rooms here in City Hall. And I know you all just did a tour of that as well. And it is a sight to be seen, technically. And it is fitting and appropriate, therefore, that the City of Philadelphia officially recognize with this citation the ADA Unit Project of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. And we are congratulating each and every one of you, all those involved, in the success of this innovative, the collaborative, and the invaluable implementation of the ADA transition plan. Congratulations, Amy. Congratulations, Adrian, and congratulations and thank you to each and every one of you on behalf of the City of Philadelphia. We love you. God bless.
Thank you so much, Sheila. We appreciate having you here today. And finally, for our closing remarks, we have with us Josie Pickens, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. She is an attorney and the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. She provides strategic direction to the city's Office of Economic Opportunity, as well as direction and support to the mayor, city departments, authorities, boards, and commissions on improving and strengthening diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout city government. Josie manages the operations of the DEI office and provides oversight and support to the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs and my office as well, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. It is an honor and great pleasure for me to introduce Josie Pickens to you today. She is my colleague and my leader, and without her support, we would not be here today. Josie, come to the podium.
Thank you, Adrian, and thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Josie Pickens. I use she, her pronouns. I am an African-American woman with short two-strand twist. I'm wearing a black blazer and a pink shirt with floral on it. Today is a great day for accessibility in the city of Philadelphia, and it's a great day for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I want to just say that you can't have diversity, equity, and inclusion without accessibility. I want to make that something that we all carry with us, that if we're thinking about inclusion and we're not thinking about the ways in which our communications, our buildings, our programs are inaccessible and how we can remove those barriers, then we're not actually creating inclusion for our communities. I want to acknowledge my amazing teammates. I know that we've heard a lot about them, but I don't think you know how much this is a labor of love for them. The battles that we fight internally and externally, and how the messages I get early in the morning and late at night from this team make it clear that this is not just a job. This is a calling for this team. I want to acknowledge the others in the room who've contributed to the success of this mission, to Patricia and her team, to Claudia, who I see in the back of the room and want to make sure she gets acknowledged for her contributions to the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. I want to thank the Mayor for elevating and sustaining this work, and thank you, Sheila, for being an amazing champion of our city. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the disability community for your resilience, for your grace, because we repeatedly don't do everything we need to do, and for your leadership. Congratulations, and let's keep marching.
That concludes our presentation, our event today. You're welcome to continue to check out the signage outside. And if you want, you can scan the QR code to sign up for our listserv so you don't miss our future events and work in the future. Thank you.